What I want to do is an exercise throughout the course of this. I'm going to start listing traits of two people that I know that are both what everyone in this room would deem as successful. I'm going to list the traits on two different sides of the line because the traits of these two people, some of them will call them, I'll say, so-called negative traits, and there are so-called positive traits. The whole point of the exercise is to show you that no matter if you had a gold or a silver spoon in your mouth when you were born, raised in private schools, lived in the best neighborhoods, you can end up both a success or a failure. And whether you were born a trust fund baby or born in the projects, you can end up a success or a failure. So I'm going to start both of these people, I'm going to start basically from birth to where they did as recently as 24 hours ago. I want you to think, and I want you to chime in and talk to me and tell me, what do you think about each of these traits? And what do you think about how this person could even be a success, or how this person could have in any way, shape, or form had any failure in their life based on the good and positive things? So, laundry list of good traits, so-called good traits, laundry list of so-called bad traits. Now I'm going to make it into both me. They're both me.
Are you kidding?
Read them.
There's nothing mutually exclusive about either list here. When I was born, my mom and dad were married. They separated when I was 10 months old.
We wouldn't know that.
Huh? Oh no, it's the question. He got it. Again, I want to talk about perception here though.
Thank you, Mom.
Because all these things,
I didn't know it until I started reading.
all these things make you think that I'm a loser. All these things. All these things make you think I walk on water. Neither is true. I'm definitely not a loser and I can't float. You know. I was raised by a single mom. The first day I went to go to school, they gave me the WISCAR standardized achievement test, told me I scored so high they had to put me in first grade. I was a behavior problem because in the Philadelphia public school system, and once again this may sound cocky as well, I was way too smart for what they had to offer. Right. So I'm sitting in class showing my ass every day, getting her fired from jobs, moving, thrown around. Eventually I ended up going to 13 different schools to get to 12th grade, where I got bored and dropped out of college, dropped out of high school. However, that was unacceptable in my house. I had to let her know what my plan was. And my plan was, I'm smarter than everybody I was in school with. Mom, why should I have to go? How about I just go down to the community and get a GED and go to college? I could play football, they'll let me in. I did that. I went to college, I graduated from Temple University in 1995. I gave a keynote speech at graduation after making Dean's List for 3 semesters in a row. 2 kids by 2 different women. Not proud of this. However, my oldest child, by my first child's mother, is a freshman at the University of Georgia. I personally wrote a check for $28,000 to pay her tuition last year. I married the second woman, and she and I have 5 kids together in Atlanta, Georgia. When my baby's mom, who I was giving money to every week, decided it wasn't going to work for us, she took me to court. My mom, who always showed me how to hustle and support myself and take care of myself, said, I know you know that's your child, but to slow up the process and to get a bearing on things, order a paternity test. Make sure it's your child. Nothing worse than that joke when they say, on the 18th birthday jerk, when the dude gives his kid the check, he says, tell your mom, that's the last check she's gonna get. And he gives it to his mom, he says, well, tell your dad, you ain't his. He paid for child support for 18 years. So my mom said, get a paternity test. When you get a paternity test, they stop child support right then until paternity is established. But once paternity is established, from the date it was filed, you owe. I had a job making $28,000 a year and they hit me with a $9,000 child support bill. I immediately went into arrears. I cleared it up in a year, but this happened. I was in arrears with my child support. I have started and sold 3 businesses, 2 real estate businesses and the sports and entertainment financial group I just sold 3 days ago. I don't have a job. I'm unemployed as a result. This was a little misleading, but it's true. I bought a 2012 Escalade and I leased a 2012 Mercedes-Benz last year in my name for 2 athletes who came out of college to go into the NFL draft. And they weren't able to get credit yet because they weren't in the NFL yet. I have good credit, I had money. I bought the 1 car, I leased the other car, they paid me back. My daughter turned 16 day before Christmas. I bought that for her. This is where I live at right now, Roswell, Georgia. 8,500 square foot house. It's gorgeous. I never thought I'd have anything like it. I own about 19 properties in Philadelphia, though, and all of them are row homes. I have over $1 million of stuff that I own. The 19 properties, the house in Georgia. I still have a house in Cherry Hill that I haven't sold. My sister-in-law lives in it. I own cars. I own another business I haven't sold yet. But you can't be successful in this world without having debt. This ain't credit card debt. This isn't, I owe Tony up the street. These are mortgages. These are business lines of credit. My net worth is over $1 million, but it's a balance of assets and debts. Last weekend, my mom's birthday was Sunday. I took her to the Bahamas. Her girlfriend, my best friend of his. But last night, I slept in the Spring Hill Suites by the airport, and I went to Bartram High School, so it's right around the corner. The point of all this is not necessarily, how crazy and diverse my life has been and the dichotomy of which it is. It's more so that we as people, we judge. We as people see what we want to see. We have a perception of things. More important than the perception we have of other things is the perception we have of ourselves. If we see ourselves as someone who can't succeed, if we see ourselves as someone who we identify more with the negative traits than the positive traits, we're going to limit ourselves. There is no bigger opponent that you will face on a daily basis than yourself. Your fears and your own limitations will handcuff you before anybody else decides your fate. You will miss 100% of the shots you do not take. There is no shame in going 1 for 100. Shoot them. Going back to the movie analogies, I told you I'll make them. There's a movie called Signs with Mel Gibson, Jaquan Phoenix, I think his name is. It's a scene in the movie. Jaquan Phoenix was a local small town, it's actually shot in Pennsylvania, small town kid who was good in baseball. Went to the minor leagues and failed. He's in the post office. These two guys are behind him and they're giving him, they're talking about him behind his back, literally, but he can hear them. And then they eventually turn on him and they say, hey dude, you thought you were the thing when you were in town. You went up to the minor leagues and you struck out all the time. You swung at balls in the dirt, you swung at balls high. Why would you do that? Why'd you swing all the time? And he just turned and looked at him and he said, you know what? It didn't feel right not to swing. I have embraced that my entire life from hearing that. It doesn't feel right not to swing. If I'm not going to strike out looking. You're not going to have me sitting there guessing as I walk back to the dugout. Could I have hit it if I swung? I'm going to strike out swinging every time. I have no problem with anyone in this room or anyone I've ever met laughing at me because I have failed. Because I guarantee you, I don't know you all, I have failed more than anyone in this room. And I have succeeded as much as anybody I know. But I wouldn't be able to do the succeeding if I wasn't willing to fail. This is going to sound completely off the wall, but it's true. I play blackjack professionally. Okay, I'm very good at it.
That's good money.
Yeah, I make a lot of money. Yesterday, the good money, I lost $120,000 playing blackjack at Harris Chester. Don't cry for me, I'm up 97 for the month. But I lost 120. Also, oddly enough, got into a fight in the casino yesterday. That's crazy, but it wasn't my fault. It wasn't. A man was choking a woman right next to me, and I tackled him off her. And then, I possibly will have charges pressed against me, that's funny, but I didn't want to be Joe Paterno. I didn't want to do nothing. I didn't want to walk away. So I say all that to say, in the playing of blackjack, I had a buddy come meet me. I have a system that I use, and he wanted to learn the system. He's hearing about all this money I'm making. He wants to see it. And I sit there and lose 120 grand in front of him. He's like, you know what, dude? The hell with your system. I'm going to go back. And that's probably the best thing that could happen to him. If you lose right away, you never play. That's great. He said to me, you don't seem upset about this at all, though. And I said, I'm not upset about this. I said, because if I didn't risk losing this money, I would never have won the money. And I showed him the chart that I keep track of all my gambling. I showed him for the month, I'm still up 90,000 bucks. I said, dude, if I didn't, everyone who gambles with me or sees me gamble says, I would have stopped after I won the first 3 hands. Guess what? It's 100% guaranteed. You'll never win the 4th one then. So I'm a risk taker, but I find that anyone who achieves any level of success is a risk taker. If you want to be comfortable and stay inside your box and not challenge anything that you believe to be true, do that. You will never have a life that looks better than what you have seen your entire life. If you want to get something that you've never had, as the cliche goes, you have to do something that you've never done.